When the owner of a practice is also a practitioner in the practice, it's all too easy to forget that leadership of the practice is the most important role, especially if you want the practice to grow. Growth requires leadership, and my guest today coaches her clients on how to become the leader their practice needs. I'm Carl White, principal at Mark Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of PracticeCare. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. Usually that's what they want anyway, but care is better when the provider owns the practice because that's when they have the most freedom to make the clinical decisions they think are best. It's just different, or it can be different. When somebody else owns the practice, usually, eventually, their agenda starts to creep in. Let's just keep it simple and keep it private. My guest today is Lisa Levesque. Lisa is a business and executive coach with a focus on healthcare professionals who are technically excellent in what they do and need help with the practice side of business. Prior to Focal Point, Lisa held senior level leadership roles at Fidelity Investments and leverages these experiences to help her clients achieve business excellence. Lisa, thank you for coming on PracticeCare.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Carl.
Yeah, it's a good topic we're talking about. We've attacked the leadership question and the priorities and what to do and how can you tell from a few different guests, but we really haven't attacked it from you have to wear two hats. Most practitioners do. And so it's hard enough to play a role. It's a little bit harder to toggle between the two. And so you have to know both in order to do it. So this is a fresh take for us, at least here on PracticeCare in this. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Excellent.
And we're going to start, regular listeners know where I start with every guest. That was a short bio that I read. That's what I asked you for. So fill in some gaps. You've got a pretty long and windy route to where you've got to today.
Yeah. So if you think about where I got to today, actually makes a lot of logical sense. You know, when I did my MBA, I focused on entrepreneurship, but I ended up
Okay.
my career being in a big corporation. So I had that one side going. The other side is I happen to be married to a dentist.
Ah, right.
And I know firsthand how much he learned in dental school about how to run a business. And I know firsthand how much I've had an influence on how he runs his business for the past 30 plus years. So those all kind of came together when I decided to leave my corporate role and become a business coach. I relied on all the things I learned from my entrepreneurial training and for my MBA. I relied on all the things I knew were important for a dentist. And I also can take great learnings from working for a big company that was super successful and helping dentists and others like them become successful in their own right as well.
Yeah, you learn a lot about business in large corporate America. Similar for me. You learn a lot about good structures, good things, not so good things, but you tried a lot of stuff. But you had every day, you had large corporate America during the day, and then what I call small business land. That's like oil and water. What was
Yeah.
that like? Like, how do you
Yeah.
turn one off? I don't know what you do. Like, how that
Yeah.
must have been something to compare the two on a daily basis.
It's funny because a lot of what it was a good thing in that I'd go to my corporate job and there'd be, oh, here's our new sexual harassment policy. Oh, pick it up. Here you go.
Yeah,
Here's our
yeah.
other policy. So that was really nice.
Hmm.
But on one side, I'm doing kind of bigger business strategy. And on the other side, I'm like, do we need to change over from our current accounting system to QuickBooks or whatever?
Yeah.
So like really in the weeds and really high level. And it could be demanding at times, but that's the reality of it.
Hmm.
You have folks that are running these smaller businesses, incredibly talented, a lot of schooling, but there's a lot of things in the weeds that I didn't have to do in my
Hmm.
corporate job. So
Yeah.
just getting that appreciation and knowing that that's reality is a
Yeah.
big part of it.
Yeah, it's true. But man, just seeing it on a daily basis must have been something.
Yeah.
And you do learn a lot about leadership in larger corporate America. Where I worked, we spent a lot of time on that culture, all these things. And then you talk to some private practice owners, and they're like, culture.
Yeah.
I don't, I think we're fine. I think we don't know, so, but okay. Who am I to say?
Right.
Um,
Right.
so let's get into it. So we're talking about growth requires leadership, which is
Mm.
definitely true. Oftentimes in private practices, one or more of the practitioners is also the owner. So let's just start by, maybe not so much defining some terms, but differentiating, the difference in roles between practitioner and leader. From your
Mm.
point of view, help us kind of see
Mm.
the relief, the differences.
Yeah, and they're so distinct in a business like this, right? So
Mm-hmm.
obviously the practitioner side, it's keeping up with your craft, understanding the trends, making sure you stay with it. But then the business leader, it's funny because oh, by the way, keeping up with your craft means also delivering outstanding service to your
Mm-hmm.
patients, so that they feel great about their smile,
Mm-hmm.
they're feeling healthy, etc. Well, you need to kind of apply the same kind of theories to the business itself. What are the things that you do to keep the business healthy? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are things that you need to do that you're not always trained on. You touched on, earlier. I mean, obviously the vision thing is so big,
Mm-hmm.
understanding where you're going, the vision and the mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see the practice going? And it's I can't underscore how important that is, right? Leading it and letting your employees know, we're a high end, want to deliver cosmetic services, or
Mm-hmm.
I want to deliver affordable dental care to the masses, or
Mm-hmm.
something in between. Whatever you are, not only you need to know that, but your staff needs to know that, and everything that you do in your practice needs to talk to that. So knowing that vision, that's all about communication. Communication is, I
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I feel like it's so simple yet so complex.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
It's like nobody would disagree with the need for it, but nobody seems to know how to do it.
right.
You know?
Exactly, exactly. And and there are some skills and some ways to make sure that you're being an excellent communicator. For sure. There's the whole integrity element, thinking about what you're delivering. How
Mm-hmm.
do you make sure that not only you are delivering with integrity as a leader, but also those around you. So these are some of the leadership qualities, but then there's just, those day-to-day business operations, things that matter. So when I'm coaching a
Mm-hmm.
dental practice, I have kind of four areas I look at. I look at time. How are you spending your time? You can't be 100% patience,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to be enough patience so that the revenue stream is there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that beautiful balance. Team, how is your team? Do you have the right people in the right seats? And there's a huge challenge, by the way, with that,
Yeah.
because you really have three roles in a dental office, right? You have the assistant, you have the hygienist, and then you have office or management staff, similar type,
Yeah.
how far can you grow? So understanding how to keep your team going.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole financial side, the
Mm-hmm.
KPIs. How are you measuring your business to
Yeah.
make sure all these things? I know this is very long-winded, but that's the business leadership side. And then there's a strategic plan that kind of goes with your vision. So recognizing that in and of itself is a full-time job for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really only a small percentage of your job if you're a practicing dentist or medical professional.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're both right. They're both almost full-time jobs. I mean, like one of the things, what I liked you were saying about the leadership side is what I was saying to myself as you were describing it is, if you don't do this, if you just show up and be a practitioner every day, then the entire staff, the entire infrastructure and everything is there to serve you. And if that's what you
Yes.
want people to
Yeah.
do, eventually good people get bored. They want to serve something within themselves, and that's why they come and work for you. So if you give them we're here to accomplish X for the masses, high, whatever it is, you want to join that,
Right.
that's more durable, right? I mean, you'll be able
Yes.
to tell if people fit or not, but it's got to start with you.
Right.
And as you play practitioner, you're just not thinking about that. Or
Right.
maybe you are, but your actions say we're a practitioner today. And so they're all serving you. I doesn't tend to last very long, right?
Right. Right. And but I can see where that mindset could come from. I'm here to serve the patient, and all of you have to help me serve the patient. But it's like anything else. You have to nurture every side of your business, and
Hmm.
whatever side you're not nurturing appropriately will not grow.
Yeah.
That's it might grow a little bit, but it's not growing the way it could.
Right. 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 I mean, weeds grow better than grass. You need to nurture grass more than weeds, right? So some things will grow.
For sure.
Yeah. Why do so many practice owners fall back into the practitioner role?
There's a lot of things that I see in that. I do a disc assessment on all of them. They all have a very similar disc
What is
assessment.
it?
Most of them, most of them are high in the S, which is the steadiness. They like to start and finish things without
Hmm.
interruption. They like to go deep, etc. And
Mm.
so that's why sometimes I remember when my husband was in dental school, I asked people, why do you want to be a dentist? And one of the things I heard a lot was, I like to have a task that I can start and finish and be done with it and move on to the next one. It's kind of
But you could
interesting.
do that anywhere. Why dentistry?
Yeah, no, that's a great. Well, obviously there might be a calling to or liking to be a doctor, whatever that might be. But
Hmm.
but they kind of think. But think about it. All of their training, with very small exceptions, are about clinical delivery,
Hmm.
right? That's what it's all about. So when you're trained, you think, okay, I know I'm most likely going to own my own practice, but it all must kind of work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that. We mentioned earlier, hope is not a strategy. It is
Yeah.
not a strategy. I
Yeah.
hope it works.
Yeah.
But they fall into what they were trained to do. If they were a little bit more of a mix of how do we get some practical training as they're going through
Hmm.
dental school, maybe it would be a little different. Some of them are natural leaders. It's not, to a person. Some of them are
Yes.
natural leaders.
Yes.
But if your calling is towards the clinical side, it's really hard to, you know,
Yeah.
how sometimes there's something you need to do, but you don't even know where to get started.
Hmm.
And I think that that's a challenge for a lot of folks. If you buy in practice that's ongoing, a lot of times that's the solution, right? Because they're hoping that it's running well and we keep the
Hmm.
employees and I just continue on. Starting it up is a little bit harder.
Yeah. So I've been doing market advisor group now for a little over 7 years, practice care for a few. I've talked to so many people, and I've gotten, I don't know, professionally angry at all the schools that, and I look at them and I go, you know what? Some proportion, some much more than a rounding error percentage of your graduates every year are going to go into the business side,
Right.
and you're not, like, you're missing it. And I had one guest, I've said this in a few episodes, one guest who said, Carl, in medical school, they never came out and said, earning money from treating patients is dirty, bad, and ugly. But the message was received loud and clear. That's exactly what they think. And I thought to myself, I've come around to, really? I mean, I, come on. It's just,
Right.
it's really, and you're right. They're smart. Many of them can figure it out fine. But it really bothers me.
Mhm.
That's where I am right now. I'm just angry, like
Yeah, no,
professionally
but
angry,
yeah,
you know?
I agree. It's funny because sometimes I'll talk to a client and we'll be talking about their financials and we'll be talking about the growth and the potential, earnings, et cetera. And they almost look embarrassed. And I always have to say, you have the right to earn money.
Hmm.
You have the right to be able to pay your bills and to pay back your school. I mean,
Hmm.
medical school, dental school loans,
Hmm.
they,
Sizable.
very sizable. So
Yeah.
it's not bad. As long as your heart, if you're delivering,
Hmm.
high quality care, doing the
Hmm.
right things by your patients, you have the
Yeah.
right to also earn.
And it's also true to say, look, if the care must be high quality, if any other part of the practice is going to work. If the care falls down, no
Right.
amount of accounting acumen or business acumen is going
Yeah.
to save it. But you own a thing, you own this practice, and it just really bothers me.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have any answers yet other than get into the curriculum, but that's easier said than done.
Oh, I know. I've thought that for years and years. Should I just put suggestion together? But there's no way they don't know this,
I
so
know, or they just don't think it's their problem. I don't really know what it is. When I started, I contacted a few, I forget which type of school. I think it was like chiropractic school. There's a bunch around me, and
Mm.
one of them had like one type of business class. And my question was, can I sit in back and listen? Can I just listen to what you
Ah,
guys are saying?
yeah,
And the response I got was, well, we have a vendor day. You're welcome to exhibit. I said, that's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm
totally
asking.
different.
So I
Yeah.
said, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how does a practitioner owner
Mhm.
start the journey to becoming a leader? It's a big question, but maybe there's
Mm,
some, how do
mm.
you start this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first and foremost, you have to understand that you need to be one,
Yeah.
right? So how do you necessarily understand that? If you're trying to do it on your own, I see some really great practice owners that are all about educating themselves. And the minute they realize what they need to know, they're going to find a way. So they might go
Mm-hmm.
to study groups where people come in and they present to them. They might go to seminars, webinars, etc. All of those things are great.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all a good starting point if
Mm-hmm.
you would like. But there are people out there like myself, like yourself, a lot of professionals who've had a lot of experience who understand what those key elements of leadership are and
Yeah.
can help talk to you about it
Mm-hmm.
and kind of get underneath where you're solid, where you could use some help, and
Mm-hmm.
begin. But it really does start with understanding that you need to do it
Mm-hmm.
and being willing to kind of take that. You're not just automatically a leader.
Yeah.
You're the boss or you're the
Yeah.
owner, but
Yeah.
that doesn't make you a leader. They're very
Yeah.
different. You're not a manager either. There's a big difference between being a leader and being a manager as
So I
well.
hit that one because I wonder if hit
Mhm.
that one. Like.
Yeah. So to me, managers manage the day-to-day operations, the things, all of the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The leader is responsible, I mentioned earlier, for the vision and the mission. The leader is responsible for making sure that the culture is what you expect that culture to be for your
Mm-hmm.
business, right? Whatever you want it to be, it starts with the leader. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not whether or not we've paid all our bills or whether or not we've processed all our insurance claims. It's about does everyone understand how we operate? Does everyone understand our expectations? Is everyone living by those? I know a wonderful professional who works with people to internalize their brand. So whatever your external brand is, making sure you're doing it internally as well. And that's part of the leadership, is making sure everyone understands their role, understanding how important it is. I worked with a group last week and the leader was all about, I'm in control. And you could see how the staff felt that they were more just like, okay, I'm pulling out the red pen today. You're the red pen. And that's what I'm writing with,
Mm-hmm.
versus, hey, I own a piece of this too.
Mm-hmm.
So creating an environment we all own, we're all accountable, we're all part of the same team, we all
Mm-hmm.
understand where we're going, right?
Mm-hmm. There's
Um,
certain things that we decide, and here's a way in which we decide certain things. I mean, culture doesn't show itself necessarily like every day,
yeah,
but it's in these difficult moments where you've got to make a tough choice,
yeah.
and you choose based on your culture, based on how you decided you would make these decisions.
And honestly, when I talk to anyone, whether it be in the medical profession or otherwise, and they're telling me that they're unhappy with the people they work with or their job or whatever, really, it all really does boil down to, first and foremost, what is the culture?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my former companies, they sort of brought this so that they didn't come up with it, but they brought it to the surface as they were trying to build out their culture. And one of the telltale signs is if you say this, but do that, when what you say and what you do not
Right.
agree, they don't line up the way they should. There it
Yeah.
is. You can say whatever you want, but if you act differently, um, you either have a broken culture or no culture, but you got something to work on regardless.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. Um, it's such a big topic. We could go on to, it really is leadership. This is not
Yeah.
a 18-minute topic.
No.
And so there's a couple questions I ask every guest to kind of sort of bring us to the finish line, at least for now.
Mhm.
The first one is very simple. Anything you think we should have talked about or I should have asked you, but I just didn't think to ask you?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's more of a filling out of what we've discussed. So, as you know, I'm a business and executive coach, and I help these healthcare professionals. And the question,
Mhm.
how exactly do I help them? Right?
Hmm.
And that's a long answer.
Mhm.
But the short answer is by holding you accountable. So we talked about all of the things that a leader should be doing, making sure that you are allocating time to both sides of your business,
Mhm.
and making sure it's the right. And I believe me, I get very stressed about the financial side because I have a financial background. So I
Yeah.
make sure that that's first and foremost, but kind of
Mhm.
making sure once you get all of these things in place, I mentioned earlier, I do time, team, money, strategic plan. Once you have all of those in place, you don't just build it and walk away.
Mhm.
You build it and nurture it and continue with it. And so working with someone like myself who understands kind of what these should look like, helping you set it up, and then going into kind of long term holding them accountable
Right.
uh, to those plans. You think about the athletes with the coaches. It's the same
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
helping them maintain the level of excellence that they've established.
Yeah. Which is a nice sort of mindset reminder. If the people who are the best in the world at what they do have active coaching,
Yeah.
listener, get over yourself. You're like, I don't need that. Maybe you don't, but you're not on an island if you do. You
Right,
know,
right,
the best people in
exactly.
the world are getting coached as we speak,
Right,
probably, you know.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they know.
I know for myself, honestly, I need coaching. I mean, we all do, right? I'm
Hmm.
in the middle of, trying to come up with some issues or dealing with some issues in my business. I like to bounce it off people. I like to have a trusted
Hmm.
advisor because that's what the coach ends up ultimately being is your trusted advisor.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other question I ask every guest is, so now, we've got a listener and we've caught their attention and like,
Mhm,
yeah, she's right.
mhm.
She's right. But they just don't know where to start. I mean, every episode we have is a big topic, but leadership might just trump them all. It's so
Yeah.
large. Um, how can someone get started? What's one or two super simple things they could do to get started on building out their leadership, for lack of a better way of saying it, as soon as they're done listening to the episode?
Mhm. Yeah, no, I will tell you, I actually have on my website
Okay.
a free, called a business growth scorecard. So it has all elements, including leadership,
Hmm.
but it's a complimentary survey. It asks you some questions and it prints out for you kind of an assessment based on your answers of where your business is. Again, it's complimentary. So you just go right out to my website. You can take a look at that scorecard.
Okay.
And that's one. And also, once that, if you do that, then I always offer a complimentary session to review it, whether it be
Okay.
the leadership elements or otherwise. And then third, kind of, look who resonates with you as a leader. And, whether
Hmm.
I would just kind of look for, can I go to courses from them? Can I read books from
Hmm.
them, et cetera, as a starting point. And then once you start to see some of those skills, I mean, there's so many great little elements of different types of leadership. One of
Right.
the ones that I love is the trusted leader, how important that is, and things like that. So there's all kinds of things out there, resources, but there's also a lot of great business coaches out there that can help you
Sure.
in that area as well.
What are any names of leaders that you think, these people are really particularly good? Like you
Oh
said the
boy.
one, but
I'm trying to think of on the healthcare side who it
yeah.
would be. There's so many good ones. It's funny. There's a friend of mine who, gosh, now I'm going to get the name wrong. So, oh boy, you
Hmm.
stumped me on that one.
Yeah.
Because,
No
yeah,
intention.
I have to,
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
That's all right. But we'll take the link to your assessment and we'll get into the show notes for the
Thank
episode.
you.
Yeah. And you supplied some other contact information, which we will also get into the show notes for your episode. So
Uh,
anybody who wants to take your assessment or wants to contact you, now they have another way to do so. So thank you for coming on Practice Care. Really appreciate getting us started on this topic. Like I said, leadership.
yeah.
I mean, there are people who devote their careers to studying and making leadership better. Who the hell did we think we are trying to tackle this all in
I
27
know.
minutes or whatever it is? But,
Yeah,
we give them a taste, bite
into it.
size. The point is, practitioner X, I think, listening. If you're wondering, am I really doing that? You probably just answered the question. You either aren't doing it at all or not to the way
Yeah,
you ought to be or probably want to be once you become
right.
aware of it. So be open-minded about it. So thank you for coming on Practice Care. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Carl.
Yes. 2 points before we wrap up.
Okay.
First, if
Yes.
you are someone like Lisa or us and you serve private practice owners, or if you're a private practice owner yourself, and either way, you've got some experience on the business side of private practice that you think others would benefit from, we want you to come on Practice Care and tell the world about it. In the show notes for Lisa's episode and every episode, there's a link, couple of clicks, really quick and easy. Just tell us what's on your mind so we can get you scheduled as soon as possible. And finally, you got to subscribe to Practice Care. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, just about everywhere. Super easy to find. Practice Care is one word, just search for it. We do a new episode every week, and that's the easiest way to stay up to date. Thanks very much, and until next time.